Welcome to Redefining Engagement. I'm Francesca Duma, Director of Audience Development and Strategy at Contribly. And in this show, I speak to leaders and innovators in the media industry so that we can bring tips, wisdom, ideas, and even some things to avoid so that we can all do more engagement better. So without further ado, let's move on to our next guest. Hi, Johannes. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi, yeah, it's great to be here. Or great to be interviewed now, yeah.
Great. And first of all, I'm really excited to interview you today because you have a bit of a different experience to a lot of people that we've spoken to before. You've got a bit of newsroom hat, but you've also got a very strong data hat. So how about we start with you telling me a little bit about your background and your experience in the newsroom so far?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I started my career in journalism or in media industry in the newsroom of a business online daily and a business news agency, and I worked there for 7 years as a reporter and news editor. And then later on, after 7 years, I changed to the business development side of a smaller local and regional publisher, leading the paywall launch and like this website projects, etc. And then later on, we were acquired by a larger regional publisher, and then I started to specialize in data and like behavioral data, merging it with customer data and that kind of stuff. And currently, I'm working as a data manager for Keskisuomalainen Group, which is the largest regional publisher in Finland, and I have a team of 5 people and me doing this stuff.
And I personally love to hear the stories of when mergers happen because I was part of one at one point, and I know that a lot of other people have experienced that, and it is a big change. For you, it sounds like it was a huge one specifically. How did that go?
Yeah, indeed, it was. Like there's like a lot of different corporate cultures merging, and at some points even conflicting. But later on, like when you see the financial realities of this kind of small publishers being somehow in a quite dire situation, like with the print revenues going down, it's eventually the consolidation is happening. So once you kind of accept that this is the way to go, and from becoming acquired, being not the one to acquire, so it's kind of a in the beginning it's hard, but like later on we have acquired new companies or new publishers, and it's quite easy to kind of empathize those people that are coming inside the company. So I guess those integrations that we've been doing afterwards we were acquired have went even better than the one that I was in part of. But yeah, it's like a lot of change, and like in a small company you do like a lot of stuff yourself, like with small team. But in a bigger corporation, you have to specialize in something, so you have to kind of like find your new employee identity, and that's kind of like I guess the hardest part.
Is that how you became that data side then? That was your story in a sense, or?
Well, actually, like I had started like a year or like half a year before I came from paternal leave, and my current boss, then boss, asked me to write my kind of new job description as we had launched the paywalls already before my paternal leave. So I kind of like figured out that what we don't have, and we didn't have this kind of data operations at all. So I figured out that okay, that's a thing that we should focus on, and I'm the one that should take care of it. So yeah, that's how I actually started working with data. But then we were acquired half a year later, so it was kind of like it was good path that had already started, but it was easy to follow that one.
I love that. Everybody should be writing their own job descriptions. That would
Indeed.
be a very different world. I love it.
Yeah, but it's a great situation to be at, like to write your own job description. Like not many people get to do that.
Yeah, you're like, siesta in the afternoons, please.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe not. Oh, and can I be the person that goes to all the conferences and learns all the new stuff, please? That would be great.
Indeed. Yeah.
And I guess the conversation is meant to be all around engagement. And I think you probably have quite a different point of view on it since you are looking at it from a data point of view. So, my first question for you is very much around, what does audience engagement mean to you?
Well, that's like a huge topic, and like you could approach it from very many different angles. Currently, audience engagement to me is that how we actually are able to reach those like local engaged audiences. Like we have lots of traffic coming from different kind of social networks and search engines and news aggregators, but it's really hard to actually to build this kind of a direct relationship with in digital world once you are a small player with all these huge social networks and social media out there. So I guess like currently I'm focusing on that kind of side, like how we are actually able to build local committed or engaged audiences. So that's the current take on that.
And how has it changed? What would do you think it's changed compared to maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago? Or
Yeah, well, like everybody was fascinated with the big numbers when one day when they were like when we were only focusing on the like the overall reach and overall uh, audiences. But once you get better data, you're able to analyze like what's the composition behind their like big numbers, and then you start realizing that okay, the numbers might, even though they are big, they might not tell that good of a story even then. So yeah, I guess the it had changed so that like the uh, understanding behind the numbers has grown, and once there's more data and more understanding, we are actually able to like focus on the real issues that we are facing.
that's really interesting. That understanding behind the data. Do you have any examples of maybe a way that you saw it before and how it has changed to now? Like what kind of understanding are you getting from the data that proves engagement?
Well, like I'd say like an example from like a surprising event that we are able to do with the new we are able to analyze with the new data. We launched these content newsletters, personalized content newsletters that were supposed to reach the working age population, and they are sent at noon. And our initial proposition was that okay, this is for the lunchtime during your work breaks. But now that we have the data and we see the age profiles behind the newsletters, we actually, though the people that we are reaching are those who are retired. So so like, and the engagement has grown there very well. The newsletter product is working very well, but it's not working well for those that we were like planning it to work well. So that's kind of like the like you get like a lot of insights. You eventually are able to engage more people that you are already engaging, but then you might not engage those people that you were willing to engage. So like when you get the data and you understand like what's happening behind.
It's really interesting because we do make assumptions, and those assumptions sometimes go completely against what we're saying. And it's very weird to create a strategy around our audience engagement with our assumptions in line. Do you have, in your experience, what are the aims of your audience engagement strategy? Like, what are they trying to deliver on most?
Yeah, so yeah, like we have a lot of small and large newsrooms. We have approximately 100 brands, and they have slightly different strategies, but they are all focusing on the same thing, like building the local engaged audience. And currently, we are doing like a lot of brand brand development. So I guess like having a strong brand is key to actually reach those audiences and to have the engaged audiences, because we know that like we get a lot of traffic locally, but they might come from a Google Discover or some other news aggregator, and they don't have that kind of brand affiliation. So they are actually not that committed and engaged, and not that valuable traffic for us as a publisher. So it's really like the strategy and the goals and aims currently is to build this kind of strong brand affiliation among the local people, so that we could have actually the engaged audiences locally.
And how are you doing that? Because that's hard. That is something that
That is
everybody is
hard.
struggling with.
Yeah.
Do you have any examples of like things that you're doing that you believe are going to help grow your brand specifically?
Well, I guess it's like doing tons of different things and experimenting all the time. Me myself, I'm not on a day-to-day basis involved in these kind of actions, but I know that they have used like local influencers and YouTubers or sports people, like local sports stars who are showing and doing like native articles, native advertisement. Is that how you say in English? Yeah, native advertisement with those like local sports stars or local rap stars, and like kind of showing to also to younger audiences that these kind of cool people are using the local news media, and the other ones should use it, that those two. So that those kind of things they are doing, but me myself personally, I'm not that involved in those operations.
It's interesting because I'm hearing from what you're saying that we're trying to build these direct relationships, and measurement is such an important piece of this. How, on your side, it's something that you're probably focused on more. How are you measuring direct relationships? Like, what shows that you're successful in engaging your audiences properly?
Yeah, that's a good question. Of course, we are measuring or tracking where do they people come from. Do they come directly to our website, or do they use some kind of other referral tool or something like that? One thing that we've been focusing lately is that we have built these dashboards measuring the amount of people using the service multiple times per week, and kind of like being non-subscribers and still using the service multiple times per week. So that kind of shows somehow some kind of engagement in the service. But of course, it's really like you could say that, okay, this is kind of the right metric to follow this engagement, but actually like there might be like really different kind of human behavior behind the numbers, and that's kind of interest that for me at least, this is really interesting to like think. So I see this like maybe 10,000 engaged users per week per site, but then there might be people who are just reading the cartoon strips, and then there are people who are just coming to the front page and just scrolling down the headlines, and then there are actually people who are trying to read those free articles that are provided on the website and are kind of the real engaged users. So there's like a lot of different human behavior behind the same numbers.
And how are you dividing those up on your sites at the moment? Like, do you target them specifically around what they're doing? So do you do anything special for the cartoon viewers versus the homepage viewers versus the readers, or is the experience very similar for all of them?
Well, I guess the experience is pretty similar for all of them, but that's a topic that we should focus more in the near future.
And in your experience, what do you think the biggest hurdles are, or the biggest challenges for news brands that are trying to engage better? What's stopping us?
Well, the biggest challenges are those that people are really using their time or spending the time in the social platforms. So, and like they have really strong relationship with for example, between Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. But in the Nordics, we are in a quite relatively good position currently because we have like large share of direct traffic on our websites, but that's not the case with the younger audiences, and that's like really like the problem is that like we should actually be available and be on those, for example, in TikTok or in Instagram, but the being there does not provide any kind of directly anything to us. So it's really like kind of this like using your resources to kind of do brand marketing on platforms that might at some point make your brand stronger, but you're not sure about that. So I guess that's like the hardest part currently.
It bites you on either side.
Yeah.
Are you doing anything at the moment that helps you with those younger audiences? Like, have you had any successful experiences apart from launching newsletters that end up opening elsewhere? What else are you doing?
Well, yeah, like of course we try to make stories where the like the main character is like a younger person, and those really kind of resonate with younger audiences. So that's like kind of a no-brainer, I would say, that like if you have if you have pictures of old people on your website, then there's no younger people are not really engaged there. But if there's pictures of younger people doing, for example, their hobbies, maybe younger people are more interested about the content and the brand.
And do you use your audience's content, like apart from just the visuals of it? Are you also using theirs? How does that engagement happen? Do you have a two-way kind of relationship with them, or is it very much one-sided at the moment, very outward? How does that
Oh yeah.
look?
Oh, you mean that like do we get some kind of feedback from the younger audiences? Like, of course,
Okay.
we do engage in TikTok and in Instagram, and that's really like in those platforms it kind of is a direct relationship, and actually younger people are asking questions from our reporters directly there, and they are answering, so they're kind of building their relationship a bit with the reporters whom they know that they are actually reporters of this news brand uh, on those platforms. But we hope at some point that they would also start to use our own web.
True. We're all trying our best, aren't we?
Yeah.
And maybe we could share a little bit around, maybe talk a bit about strategies. What strategies have you found have ended up being the most effective in engaging your audiences? Are there any things that you really think, oh, when we did that, it always works, it always helps our brands?
We are not that good in reaching young audiences or like new audiences currently. Like we are really good at in reaching like our core audiences and serving them well. So those kind of like 55-year-old and older, they are really engaged. They consume or like read a lot of articles. They are really happy. The churn rates are really low. Retention is really high. Everything is good with our core audiences in the digital sphere. But when it comes to like the new audiences and new audience engagement, you have to think and try to find like a lot of different kind of initiatives, try everything, and then at some point maybe something works. I think it will be a long journey to engage those audiences that are currently using these really addictive social media platforms.
I think it's a challenge that everybody is
Yeah, it's the same.
definitely going
Yeah.
through. But it sounds like there's a culture that is developing within your teams around trying. Maybe we can have a little conversation around that culture, because having bought in new brands, being such a massive group, how do you push innovation within the group?
Well, we have a couple of things that we do. We have these weekly data clinics and digital development clinics where we actually tell about the work that we are doing in the digital development unit that we have. We have like a centralized digital development unit because we are spread out all over Finland. We have, as I said, over 100 brands, so you have to have a centralized development to get some real to get energies. So we are focusing all the development kind of and new initiatives there, and then we have these kind of forums where we are discussing and like crossbreeding different ideas and then telling them about them to all people. And then there's ways that people just can send their ideas to us, and we will take over and then kind of like think, is this actually a thing that we could do? Does this need a lot of resources? Is this kind of like a low hanging fruit that we can pick, and those kind of stuff? For example, we were actually in this INMA Innovation Week in Helsinki, and there was this Västerbotten's Kuriren telling about the article horn that they had built, and it was really good idea because like we have the similar kind of problem that there's like a lot of viral traffic that we are actually not benefiting, that it's not benefiting us anyhow. So they had built this article horn that like if there's like a lot of people bumping into the paywall and the article is going viral, they open the article horn kind of blows and you get an alert, and the edit newsroom opens the article. Then you got like there's like a lot of more ad inventory than when you have a like when people are not bumping into the paywall but they actually seeing the article. And also they had more ad revenue, but also better conversion for the B2C in B2C sales too. So that was that was really interesting idea, and we just kind of stole it and are doing the same and soon launching our own article horn. So that's like a kind of a one initiative that we had the idea, and we were kind of able to progress with it easily.
That's fantastic. And tell me more about these weekly sessions. So obviously, you need to have a business case to push any of these innovations forward. Who within the different brands, who's part of these different weekly sessions where you're talking about this? Is it mainly editorial team? Is it tech? Who are you bringing together?
Well, me myself personally, I believe in this kind of a radical openness, or like that you can actually share the ideas across the board. So we have said that you can just send it to anyone you want to have you want to be in part of that session. So there's people from the editorials teams and tech and B2C sales and B2B sales. So anyone who wants to join and has time to join can. And then we are also recording these sessions. So if you were not able to join, you can watch them later on.
I love that. Like they keep talking. I was at the same conference that you were mentioning, and the talking about over communicating your innovation was such a piece that came out. It was like brand, and communicate with whatever
Indeed.
you're doing. So it sounds like that's really what you're trying to do as well.
Yeah.
And I am interested in this audience interaction that you have. You've mentioned how your audiences interact with the editorial brands via social media. Are there any other ways that you're getting your audiences to feed back on the work that you're doing? You're following the data, you're looking at how many people are falling onto your different articles, you're looking at where they're coming from. Are they feeding back in other ways at all so that you can understand that relevance?
Not on a constant basis, but we do eventually every once in a while these surveys. And when we launch a new product or like we renew our websites or something, then we ask our audience to give us feedback. So maybe every half a year we do this kind of survey, so we get that kind of feedback, but not on a constant basis.
It must be quite hard to do over 100 brands, but it also must be quite efficient to be able to have a smaller team to get to be in part of these surveys. Maybe that can push us on to a little conversation around tech, because obviously technology has a massive role to play in everything that we're doing in the media. What role do you see technology like AI, for example, and data analytics playing in this audience engagement effort? Where do we sit as part of those discussions?
Like it will bring efficiency to like many things that we are doing, but in the end it's not about having engaged audiences. It's not about a technology. It's about like they believing in the work that you are doing in the local community, you being valuable to the local community, and then you being valuable to the local community, and about the brand, as you said also. Like the brand is really important. So you have to solve all these technical problems. AI will for sure change a lot of things, but that's still not kind of the important things. The important things are that you have to be valuable for the people. Like there has to be value in what you do, and you have to believe yourself in the work that you do. For example, I really get a lot of motivation myself for working for a local publisher, because in the digital sphere, the winner takes it all logic is quite strong. So it's kind of really hard to do the digital transformation for local publishers. But that's really important for local democracy though, because like if there's no like fact checked news locally, there won't be the one of the key requirements for the local democracy is not then there. So that's like what brings me motivation, is try to kind of like do the digital transformation from my part, do like the data analysis, provide insights for the editorial team, for our tech development, so that we could actually publish sustainably local news in the long run.
I can't agree with you more that we need to find ways of making local news efficient, so that the why is the important bit, the tech is secondary. We can use any tools to do something, but it's the what we're trying to do that is so important to that. Do you think that there are going to be any challenges, or what are the biggest challenges that are going to stop us from building better relationships with our local audiences, apart from social media, which we've already heard about? Are there any other challenges that you think are stopping us from engaging with them better?
Well, The big question is that can we actually publish news sustainably? What I mean by that is that do we have the financial means to do that? Because people are going to write about local stuff in social media, but can somebody get their they get their wage from publishing and doing local news? So like in the print era, there's been a lot of local advertisement in the print, and it has brought you in good revenue stream. But in the digital world, you really have to have like a lot of customer revenue, because the local digital revenue, ad revenue, is not going to sustain or be financially sustainable. So, and I would say that that's the like the key question, like what's the financial basis for publishing local news? And that's like if you don't have the financial, then you're not engaging anyone.
So true. And you're on your side, it's subscriptions. You mentioned this before. What are the things that you're doing that increase your subscriptions the most? What have you noticed gets your audience going?
Good content, yeah, I would say. Being relevant, and constantly improving, constantly analyzing your daily content, how you're actually engaging with the people, and constantly then improving it, doing new stuff, then analyzing the new stuff that you are doing, and then like it's a constant cycle. So I wouldn't say that there's like one thing that like is yeah, it's like you have to have this mindset where you actually analyze everything, and like you are ready to accept that everything can be changed, like if there's something that works better later on.
That's interesting that you mentioned mindset. We're in a world where I think we expect media professionals to have experience in everything. You need to know how to use the tech, you need to know how to do social media, you need to have the right mindset. And it's just there are so many expectations put on us. What do you think are the most crucial skills that media professionals need to be able to do this job properly? Where do you think it potentially is going in the future as well?
I would say that the most important skill is to have empathy for the like local people, or the people that you are doing the service for. So kind of like you live their life, like you can imagine like how they are living their lives, and what kind of value you bring to them, what kind of emotions they have, how do you respond to those emotions. Without that, you can do everything, but then you are not really relevant to these people. So I would say that that is now already, but that will be even more important later on.
I feel like you've picked the one thing that you can't measure and that you can't teach.
Indeed. I'm not
The
making my job
hardest thing.
easy.
Not at all. How do you get empathy into you? How do you measure empathy? It's so difficult.
It's impossible, yeah. But yeah, like what I said, like it's like what fascinates me is the people behind the numbers, because you always like
Mm.
you get aggregate numbers, you get big numbers, you can analyze like a lot of clicks and reading times, etc. But there's always real human behavior, real human beings behind those numbers, and like you have to always remember that when you are looking at the numbers or doing tech development or anything.
I agree. It's funny what you were saying earlier about people's content. I always push this idea, or I talk about this idea a lot around the value exchange, because for me, it's so important to always think about when you ask your audience to do something, like the feeling that they're going to get behind it. They know what they get from engaging with social media. They get some likes, they can get some shares, they feel good about themselves. But I don't think we always focus on that when we're talking about media, or we're creating our articles, or we're creating our products. We're not thinking about how is this going to make the other person on the other side feel. And we are, as humans, we act based on feeling. So it's so true what you're saying. It's just very, very hard to do.
It's really hard to
I'm
do, and yeah, I would say that like being in editorial room currently, that's like really hard, because like in business development side or like data analytics side, it's really easy to like kind of work daily, bring insights and everything, but all the real stuff is done in the editorial room, because they are doing the content, and they really have to have the empathy. And I have a lot of respect for the journalists working out there and trying to do their best in a world which is constantly changing, and the old old norms are not really working. They have used to work in the print era, and currently all their work is measured and done differently. But still, they would have to need to have the empathy for the local people. So it's like a lot of respect for the journalists out there.
Yeah, it's very tough. It's very tough. And you also, when you're so used to working in this way that, you know, you're looking at the facts, you want to know what's right, what's wrong, and you're trying to hold people to account. There's this whole other side of your job that it's not a piece that's added on at the end. It's probably something that needs to be considered right from the beginning and kind of rechecked. And it is very difficult to do that. I guess I'll have a last question from there, following on, which I do like. If you were going to give a piece of advice to a hyperlocal brand out there, or any journalist that's going into, or anyone, even a data person that's going into the media, what would you say your engagement hack might be? What should brands be doing from day one, thinking about if they are going to go into our world? What should they be doing?
My engagement hack would be to like try a lot of new stuff for a like hyper local brand, maybe with newsroom of 1 to 3 people, for example. I would try to do a local podcast, a local newsletter, use social media. I would be out there everywhere to like kind of build the relationship with the audience. I know that it sounds like you are just bringing in more work for like on top of the basic editorial work that you're actually doing. But if you would actually like kind of be a little bit playful and use those content, like you could be you could have a different tone of voice in your newsletter, in your podcast, in the social media, and then do the like kind of hard editorial decisions and editorial work in the newspaper or on the website. You could actually reach like these kind of audiences that are not expecting you to be, for example, cheeky or playful, and those actually, and then you would build a relationship with different audiences that are expecting different things. So that would be my engagement hack, to be out there everywhere and try different things with some playfulness.
I love that. That is such a good one. Get more audiences by giving it more voices. It's so good. Thank you so much, Johannes, for your time. I really appreciate it. And hopefully we'll be talking again soon.
Yeah, this was a pleasure. Thanks you.